Hey, not too much. I just saw your tagline. Will Michigan reach all of its goals? As a Michigan State alum, I hope not. But realistically speaking, they can if they can repeat what they did last year and just top it off by beating Michigan State. Um, it's going to be very competitive. The Big Ten is always in the East. It's a very tough road to hoe. And so I think Michigan has, good coaching. I give Harbaugh credit. He finally got over the hump with Ohio State. Unfortunately, he couldn't get through Michigan State, and I think that's the Achilles heel that he has. Michigan State is just built different. We're just a little tougher, and I think when it gets down to the trenches, we're better. We've been hitting the recruiting trail really hard. We got a lot of 4-star guys that Mel Tucker's recruiting that Michigan's not able to get, and so I think they're going to have problems in the trenches. Now we have to go to Michigan this year, I believe. So we're going to see if the young guys can step up and really do a good job in a hostile environment such as Michigan, because they're going to want blood because we got Paul. What do you all think? Big Ten East is tough, but we beat Michigan. We beat Michigan. We beat Penn State. Yeah, we got slaughtered by Ohio State, but that's every now and then. We've been able to hold off Ohio State the last few runs. They got one off last year, but for the most part, we know how to beat Ohio State when we all show up to play. Last year I was in the building and it was ugly, I got to say. But I think we can rebound from that, learn from that. We beat the ACC champs last year, and it's one of those scenarios where we are just going to be ready with even better talent than we had last year. Of course, we don't have, K9, but we got some young running backs who are ready to go. Receiving core is going to be good. We still got our quarterback. Defense is going to be tough because it's Mel Tucker tough. And so I'm thinking we're going to probably win 9-10 games again this year. Hopefully we can mess around, beat Ohio State, beat Michigan, beat Penn State, and end up in the Big Ten title game. I think that's the goals for this year. Win the Big Ten, get to a playoff spot. Even if we get to the Big Ten title game, it's a successful season for us. Everybody's underestimating us this year. They think we're going to see 8-9 games. I think 9 games is probably good, but we're looking at double digits every year now. We just paid our coach $100 million. So with that comes big time expectations. We're going to wait for the voice to get back. And I can't see the chat right now, but I'll respond to it as I get off. T. Lawrence Graxton. I'm Michigan State. I'm not just a fan. I am an alum there. I have a degree from there, a graduate degree. So for me, it's big time. It matters so much. Big Ten still expanding. Kevin Warren's talking about still expanding. Who do y'all think they're going to take? If we get Notre Dame, we don't have to expand any further than that. But definitely, if we get Stanford, Notre Dame's definitely going to come. So I see Stanford on the radar. Oregon, Washington, we might take them, we might not in the Big Ten. But Oregon and Washington have to really explore their options because the Pac-12, Pac-10 is going to be Pac-2 in a minute, and the Pac is going to be dead. Believe me. Big Ten's got East to West Coast now. We're in good shape. There's the voice back. Welcome back.
Lawrence, you didn't bank on taking over the show, did you? I appreciate that. Thank you.
I did. I will put this one in the archive.
I received a call that it was vitally important. I had to take that phone call, so I put you on the spot. I apologize for that. Thank you so much for doing that. But it looked, though, I couldn't hear anything, but it looked like just kind of carried on a conversation about Michigan State.
Yeah, the experts are saying we're going to win 8-9 games. I think that's pretty accurate. But with Mel Tucker getting $100 million, basically $95 million over 10 years, the expectations are way higher than that now. So that's been set. We're looking at being at least in the Big Ten title game. That's the expectation for me anyway.
Okay, so yeah, it's an interesting situation there at Michigan State. I've always been intrigued by the Michigan State football program because I don't know how long you've been watching and how long you've been a fan of Michigan State football. How long would that be?
Well, I can tell you I've been watching since I was a kid because I grew up in Cincinnati, so we always had Ohio State on, so the Big Ten was always a staple in the household. But every once in a while, I would notice Michigan State would take out Ohio State in the big game.
Sure.
Remember that game in '98 when I was 18 years old, when they got that interception before Ohio State got that touchdown and shut down the Rose Bowl dreams. I became a fan when I attended graduate school there. So that's been about 2010, 2011 when I really started dialing in.
Actually, to be more specific, it shut down a national championship dream. That Ohio State team would have played in the BC at the first ever BCS championship game.
True.
Had won that game.
I
Anyway,
think that was Saban. Was that Saban?
that was Saban. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, Ohio State was up 19 points in that game. So, because Michigan State has always fascinated me because they have extremely going back down through the years before Nick Saban, George Perlis, always like really hard hitting, hard nosed, tough teams. It's a tough football program. That's what it was built on, being tough. They weren't always the best, the most talented, the fastest, anything like that. But from the time I started watching in the late 70s up until the time that Mark D'Antonio showed up, except for a few highlights, a few peak years, 1999 would be one. Plaxico Burress won the Citrus Bowl, had a really good season, 10-2, top 10 team. Percy Snow, Lorenzo White, that group in 1987 won the Rose Bowl, won the Big Ten championship. Just a lot of 7-5 kind of seasons for Michigan State. Then D'Antonio jumps on, and bam, he really maximizes the program by developing talent. Didn't necessarily recruit that much better, just developed talent and just got that team to play out of its mind for the first half of his tenure. And now it's kind of settled before Mel Tucker back down into a 7 or 8 win program for that 3 to 4 years after going to the college football playoff, and actually had an awful season, as you well know, after the playoff season at 3-9. Then Mel Tucker shows up, and we have this 10-2, 11-2 with the bowl win season. And now
beat Michigan twice. He's 2-0 against Michigan.
Yes, I am so curious now to see if Michigan State is all that, if they are going to be another superpower in that division consistently.
I think they have a shot. Mel Tucker's understanding that talent wins a lot of games. Michigan State has a tradition of taking basically rejects from the bigger schools, Ohio State, Michigan, because it was at one point in time a regional recruiting program where we take 3-star athletes and those guys will have chips on their shoulders and come ready to play. That's where the toughness comes from, because we're always doubted, we're always underrated. And I think they go into games with that chip on their shoulder and they always want to show up to play. Mel Tucker, surprise, surprise, from last season, even though we took a beating from Ohio State, I mean, we beat the ACC champions last year in Pittsburgh, Pat Narduzzi, our former defensive coordinator. And, it's all uphill from here. From here, we expect to win. We expect to be in Big Ten title games. We expect to win the East. And he's doing a great job recruiting with 4 stars. I mean, that's something that hadn't usually happened at Michigan State. But now the reality is Mel Tucker has that swag. He has that toughness about him. If you've seen any of his pregame speeches, on Big Ten Network or even on YouTube, he hypes those guys up. He tells them all the time, we have a better football team. We're tougher. We put the work in. And I think with that, plus the talent he's recruiting, I mean, the sky's the limit for us. And, going into that Michigan game, I mean, I know people got on the team about having rings with the New Year's 6 win and putting Michigan on there. That's the biggest game of the year. We don't care. I mean, Ohio State's always a great team and we want to beat them. But in the state of Michigan, the only thing that matters is beating Michigan. That's the only thing we hang our hat on. And so if we beat Michigan, our season's set. And so for us, if we beat Michigan, we're trying to get up and beat Ohio State. We're trying to beat Penn State. We're trying to dominate. And that's the attitude that Mel Tucker brings to the table.